We're back at you with gloves off, and today we have one of the pillars of our community here in Laredo, Mayor Pete Saenz. How are we doing, Mayor?
Paul,
Doing
just
good?
fine. Thank you so much for the invitation.
No,
In
thank you.
fact, gloves off, literally.
And
you, Paul.
no, thank you. And we'll touch base about your campaign, and we'll see what's going on and what your feelings are and everything else. And number one, how do you feel about it?
Well, I feel very good. Obviously, I'm running. I feel qualified. I've been getting some good, positive feedback, Paul, from a lot of people. People that I also respect in the community, and they've basically told me that they're supporting me, which is good. And I'm very privileged, obviously, to have been elected mayor, and I thank the public, the voter that voted for me. Hopefully, they'll stay with me again, and by now, I think I've demonstrated, hopefully, to them that what I can do and who I am, who Pete Saenz is, my values, and the vision that I have for our city. But we've made some movement, and I ask them to please stand strong with the change that we're proposing, and hopefully, with their support, we can move our city forward to the next level. Yes.
Yes, I know that. How was it when you first came in? Was it a hard change? Was it something that you can say, you know what, I needed to come inside and do a couple of changes right off the bat? How was it? And how was that all that
Let me
accepted?
take you back about 4 years.
Okay.
Well, even before I decided to run, this is something that truly it came from the heart. I spent at least a year and a half discerning whether, in fact, I should go into more public office. I was a trustee and chair of LCC for 12, 13 years. So public service, I've always wanted to be engaged in. But going into city politics, I mean, that's a different level. That's big time, so to speak, for Laredo and for me as well. So anyway, I finally realized that it wasn't the ego, it wasn't just the honor, possibly, that I truly wanted to help, and I always called it a calling. We all have vocations, and I think this is part of my vocation.
Sure.
To lead our city, and I was born and raised here. I'm a native Laredo, and I care for my city, and I thought that based on what was occurring way back then, and of course you're very familiar, and I think the public as well, especially they're following these programs, that we desired more. There was all sorts of allegations, criminality, corruption, compadrismo, name it. And I wanted to hopefully bring something new, something different, maybe start impacting on that culture to try to change it, because I think our city deserved better. And I think we made strides along those, along those lines. But keep in mind too, I was the lone ranger, so to speak. I've been saying that, or the lone wolf, so to speak. When I came in, I was the outsider, wanting to effectuate this change, positive change. And of course, I felt very belittled, I guess, in a way, and that's normal, I guess, if they perceive you as someone different trying to change what they've done. But again, I am a man of faith, of hope, and my first meeting, we through the grace of God and the stars aligned, and there were other people that also wanted what I wanted, at least as to that one issue. We changed the city management. The city manager decided to resign, to retire, frankly, and he did, and I appreciate that too. I know he had his own way, his own style of governance, and we have to respect that. And there was a lot of good also done, but also people wanted something different.
Has that impacted the whole administration? Has that impacted the departments in that change of city manager?
Keep in mind too, the city manager position is crucial. It's important. I mean, he sets the tone, the attitude, the approach. City council as well, and of course mayor. We all play those roles toward what is conducive toward the management of our city, but more so the city manager. So by having that replacement, and then we got our second city manager, and then also at times, as you know, the FBI came upon us, the city and the county, and it turned out that our city manager then was also placed on this subject target list, and of course that's not, the image of our city is not enhanced, obviously, if you have a top city official in a target list of the FBI. So I approached our city manager then and said, look, this is not toward culpability. I'm not saying anything of that sort, but the fact that you're on a list, that the FBI is interested in you, it's not the best image for our city. So I try to work with them. I said, why don't you go and visit with the FBI? Maybe they can, you can clear your name within 2-3 weeks or so. But that didn't happen. And then my next approach was to say, well, because it's very difficult, this and whatever. So I said, okay, let's park you with pay for a month or 2 or 3 to see what develops out of this FBI investigation. Maybe by then they themselves will clear you, or you yourself will take more time so you can focus on this and get your name cleared. But of course, he was reluctant. So it came to the point that people, instead of visiting with him, the city manager, now were circumventing him, bypassing his office and coming to me directly, primarily because they were afraid. The fact that if you have an official on a target list, they're afraid that maybe they're being taped, or FBI is listening, or someone's listening to establish whatever they need to establish or not establish. So, I mean, that told me that we got to change. We got to do something different. So it just so happened that he then resigned, and then our third manager came on board, and we've been working with him. I feel comfortable with him. I think
he's a good man. I think he's been around for a while.
And I think he's pressured from all sides, like all city managers are. But I think there's, we can develop something meaningful for our city, and I think he can take us there. But I've always stated, 2 things. You got to behave, simply because of the history that we've had, and that goes for all of us, including myself. And you got to perform. You got to produce. I mean, there's no excuse for those 2 things. And if something fails along those lines, personally, either we ought to resign or improve.
You're absolutely correct, and I think more people need to take that initiative. If it's failing, you have to take it upon yourself. You know what? This is too much for me. You know what? Let me bow out. I think people will respect you.
Yeah,
That happens.
and we're held to a higher standard, and I've been
Sure.
very vocal of that. I mean, people look to us as models. What model do we present to not only our city, but to the state, to Washington, to Mexico, to other people? So we need to truly, at this point, and given again the history, I'm not pointing fingers, but just if you take the history of Laredo, I think we need to raise that bar, and that's a common expression that I've been using. You know, we need to now we've matured, hopefully, and we recognize that major improvements need to be done. The image of our city, so crucial. We all want a better image, and hopefully, maybe I'm not the perfect model for it, but at least it's a beginning. At least I'm trying very very hard, Paul, to get that standard and keep that standard. And if I fail, I'll be the first one to say I resign. Or whatever, and pull out, and then someone else can take that position. It's not about Pete Science, it's about our city and moving our city toward a better image and place in the state and the world, frankly.
No, you're absolutely correct. You know, and Laredo, for a very long time, has been tarnished. We have to start cleaning it up, you know, a little polishing here and there. We have to be proud of ourselves.
And that was really my goal. People, I mean, they asked me, what, 2 words, clean up. I mean, start there, and I know it implies all sorts of things, but be that as it may, it is what it is. I think people, when they voted me in, they wanted something totally different. So it begins with a culture, and it's going to take years. I may not be able to carry the ball across the goal, but maybe someone else will feel that maybe we have a movement toward that end, and maybe they or someone else will ultimately free us from this bad image that we've had.
Sure. And, that bad image, we all have to start at our own homes, and bring it out. And I think everybody needs to work together. And the city in general, from the workers at our stores all the way up to the head, like yourself, like you're saying.
Yeah, but what does that bad image constitute? For me, transparency, and I know these are coined phrases or words that we use, but transparency is huge. The fact that we need to open, and I think we've accomplished that now. I think the public feels at least comfortable in accessing City Hall and pronouncing their disgust or their differences with City Council. Not that they're all right or correct all the time, but we value their opinion. We value the fact that they're engaging, and that's what I wanted to see. So public comment for me is important, whether it's good comments or bad comments, but they've got every right. Our city is the city of the people. I truly want that. I want our city to be a service city, provide service to the people. It's your government. So you have every right to come and complain and praise if need be, but be engaged, and I think we've demonstrated that. Our records now, at least every transaction, is now registered, and it's online. Before, it was so hard to get that information.
Sure.
Now I think through the help of council, I have to give them credit as well. They've come on board, and now there's ample transparency,
Sure.
public access to City Hall, and accountability. The internal auditor now has been busier than ever. I think before my time, if he or she had 1 or 2 cases, probably too many. And now, she's swamped because she's spot checking contracts and this and that, which we want. We want to keep a level playing field for everyone.
Sure. And that transparency is occurring, and it takes time. Like you said, it takes time. And I think that's your vision, for Laredo to be a city that is self-serving to the people, right?
That's precisely right.
And
it's what democracy is, and it should be
exactly
that
right.
way. Yeah, we're just enforcing our principles, founding principles.
If God wills it for you to be our next mayor, okay? And what would you do for the next? What are the issues that you're going to tackle in the next 4 years?
There's basically it's continue what we've been doing, but maybe to a greater extent. And again, it's providing service to the people, accessibility to the people, creating this level playing field for all people to do business with the city of Laredo. Before, if you go back, and I think history will prove me right, City Hall was just somewhat open just to select few. We want to do away with that. You know, we've changed and we're continuing to improve our procurement processes where bidding is a fair bidding and it's displayed publicly as well, where people feel like they had a fair chance in getting city contracts. As you know, the second meeting that I came, I vetoed a very controversial contract, over $1 million to a certain engineering firm, which is now being investigated by the FBI, simply because the local engineering firms were saying that they weren't getting a crack at it, a fair opportunity to bid for those. So I vetoed that. Of course, my veto was overridden, so it didn't make much difference. But at least the difference there is that I opposed it and I brought it to light, and I've been doing that. I vetoed two other actions as well. One was a similar situation with, we call it the Altas, and then the other situation was the matter, and he's also a challenger contender. Mr. Roque Vela wanted to bring Carlos Villarreal, the prior former city manager, to the Ethics Commission, and I felt that was improper, given again the history and the reasons why people wanted to change, and so I vetoed that. But that withstood. The other council members also agreed that he was not a good choice for that. Maybe for some other city, he would have been, given his experience. Yeah, he could apply all of that. But the fact that he was a city manager, knew the people, he could.
It's kind of
touchy.
Sure.
He could show biases or
conflict of interest in some cases.
Conflicts of interest, right?
How can you say, since I took office, the business community how have they responded? Is it better?
Overwhelmingly. I mean, before the business, again, with the exception of a few select, the business community was alienated, was separated. It was basically, this is the way we do business in the city. Business people, chamber, LDF, Alpha, all the other groups that represent the industry. You take orders from us. We don't necessarily need you. We know what we're doing. That kind of attitude. And I think that's changed. And don't take it from me. Visit with them.
Sure, no.
Yeah, they've responded wonderfully. They're now very much partners, and I'm pro-business. I truly feel that if you don't engage the business community in a city, you're missing the point.
You're absolutely correct. I've seen a lot of, I would go back into the directors and towards businesses. A lot of businesses were alienated, blackballed because, or whether who they supported in the past and so on and so forth. And now I'm seeing those people's children stand up and say, wait a minute, we're not taking this anymore. It's happening. So there's I would say, a revolution kind of changing face here. You see it on social media. In the last 8 years, this way to the present, you see a lot more people become more vociferous in their opinions. Antes, you wouldn't see that. People would don't say anything because it's going to affect the business of your father. It's going to affect the business of. Understand? So now you start seeing more people stand up and say, wait a minute.
The retaliation aspect of it, and whether it occurred or not, that remains to be seen. And I guess you all, the pundits need to respond to that. But keep in mind, too, our relationship with Nuevo Laredo was non-existent.
Sure.
That door was also closed.
How is it now?
Well, you tell me. I see it very much open. They feel very comfortable coming to Laredo, working. We're one region, frankly. And before it was more, for some way, somehow, the attention was for Nuevo León. And Tamaulipas, Nuevo Laredo was kind of kept separated. but now it's the entire region. I work with every region, be it Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, Nuevo León, whoever wants to do business in our city, we give them the
course.
attention. We welcome with open arms, and that's the attitude we have. It's we're ready to do business in our city with whoever. If you want to invest, by all means, come by and we'll visit. We still need to improve on
On how it's marketed?
the business-friendly
Sure.
approach to that, but I think we've made significant strides as well. So we're moving. It takes time. Recently, the recent elections brought people that are like-minded, and I think they've been some help. Hopefully this
This election,
November
sure.
we'll get other people that hopefully will think the way I'm thinking and others that they're in council are thinking. And if that's the case, I can assure you it'll be a new day in Laredo, Texas. If you want fair play, open, transparent government with mindful of our poor as well, and we can discuss that in a moment.
Sure.
We need to bring those people in because, personally, I need help. I'm usually the minority, and that's fine, and I respect the process, and that's the democratic process. But I think Laredo is evolving, and I think I'm seeing some huge potentials that can come our way in November, and if that's the case, we can truly move our city quicker, and to the point that it'll be more productive.
Do we have any future negotiations with huge companies or factories coming to Laredo that might change?
Yes, we
perspective?
have. Well, yeah,
If you can talk about that?
Yeah, this is where the Laredo EDC comes in, and I know the city is in the process of also creating this economic development department there. It's taken a little while because we want the right person in there, but it would complement the formerly known Laredo Development Foundation. But we have one in particular, and they want us to publicize it as Port Grande, which a huge warehousing facility by the Uniroyal area. I mean, they're constructed all sorts of warehousing components there. Medline also, that's light manufacturing, and they've established here, and they complement their work in Roletta as well. And we have others. We're working hard toward still attracting that light manufacturing, which pay better. But I think we're moving. I would say, and I've mentioned before, that we probably have around 10 companies, corporations that do light manufacturing, compared to what we had before. So it's increasing. Let me go back to this poverty. I know politicians in general like to throw that word out just for whatever. But I truly took it to heart to focus on what poverty was. Who is the face of poverty in Laredo? Because it's so easy to generalize and make assumptions, and it's all sorts of things. When I first came on board, I kind of touched with different institutions, and it's just the issue itself is so difficult and so broad. Some were saying, well, it's the fact that we need more education, and I would say, yeah, that's fine. I mean, education, and I think we've seen it, and my congratulations to UISD, the Superintendent Bobby Santos, and all his people, and teachers, obviously, the ones that are there at the front line. LISD as well has made huge, significant strides, improvements. So we're making improvements in our education. LCC, and of course, Tammy, you as well. I mean, they complement the entire community in the educational system, and of course, work skills as well. So we've made strides toward that. But then, yet the poverty level has always been 32, 33.
Why is that?
Well, I'll tell you. We were fortunate enough to have been selected as one of 40 cities throughout the U.S. in this Bloomberg Philanthropies program. That's Mayor Bloomberg from New York City, and he adopted Laredo. Frankly, So now we have the Bloomberg people, which is a massive organization, and it's free of cost to the city, in conjunction with Harvard a university. So now they're basically helping the city of Laredo on 3 programs. One is a professional development. They offer courses to me and management. 2 is this data portal, the fact of organizing all the city data information that we have so we can make decisions based on data. And that's a huge undertaking, and it's taken months now, but that's, people come and they visit, and they're organizing our files. And then the third one is they asked me, what in particular would you want to focus on, Mayor, is your project? And I said, poverty. We've always been poor. Even before I was born, I think the frontera, the border's always been poor. Why is it? Why can't we, progress, grow out of that? So they sent this young man, he's a Harvard fellow, Santiago Mota, brilliant, bright young man. So he, along with other people that are in Harvard, did all sorts of assembled data, and they tapped into all sorts of databases here in the city. And to cut to the point here, I told him, who is the face of poverty here in Laredo? And he says, Mayor, it's a single parent, namely a mother, with 2 children. We have 33% of our families are in poverty, which is shameful, frankly, and I worry about that as a mayor. And from that 33% of poverty, almost 80%, I think it's 78% of all the poor in Laredo is a single mother with 2 children, possibly more. But that's the face of poverty in Laredo. So what do we do? So we need we're at that stage now. I'm asking council, because poverty is throughout the entire city. He was able to map certain concentrated areas where the poor.
A little bit, but we're,
yeah. So now it's a matter of putting an action plan to address that. How do we, if we know it's a mother with 2 children, how do we get them out? How do we give them a hand to
lift them up?
Yeah. And
what have they said, or what is their?
Well, it's basically, obviously they need immediate needs. So it's over their stores around them. And the other 2 factors is that whatever income, obviously they receive little income. Half of that is goes toward housing, and then the other third goes to transportation. So whatever's left is for them to live on, for food.
Sure.
So it's not much. So now we know what the parameters are. So now we got to put a plan of action and start addressing that. So anyway, it's evolving and it's developing as we're speaking. Hopefully, council through their assistance and who doesn't want to help the poor, because we have poor throughout the entire city, each of the districts. So at the next, we had it here for last night, but it just went on, and I wanted to allow enough time for council to truly digest this and come up with ideas as to how we put a plan of action forward to address poverty here in Laredo.
Sure. And, poverty is something that is seen. And I see it, because we deal a lot with kids. And I see that there's a lot of kids in there that the parents don't have the money to stick them in martial arts schools. And with us, And so I have a lot of scholarships. I have kids that come for free, But what happens, either the parents are embarrassed and they don't bring them. And so I see that, because I'm out there seeing these kids, seeing these people.
And you're absolutely correct, Paul.
And so there has to be some kind of programs that we can help them, because a lot of these kids are home alone because the mom has to work, or the father has to work, or what have you. Instead of placing these kids into that cycle, we have to get them out of it.
What's helped? One good thing is that we have a good safety net. The study, and hopefully the written report will come out soon. But it does establish that we have a good safety net in terms of entities that help the poor, the homeless, and so forth. But a good safety net is our school districts.
Sure.
You know, they provide so much. Keep in mind that LISD is 95% below the poverty level. You know, the kids, that just shows you that the majority of the kids are probably from a single parent.
Sure.
And it speaks socially too. You know, where's the father? You know, why do they end up in this situation? So there's a lot of education socially that we can, you know, see, it opens avenues of conversation.
Sure.
And
I say that a lot of single moms out there, a lot of fathers, a lot of, like you said, you know, their father doesn't want to be around, or they're the deadbeat father. You hear that a lot, but a lot of fathers have been alienated in the court system.
it's
And so
into all of that. Yeah.
I think we need to bring in 50-50 parenting. Number one, I'm for that 100%, and that's something that legislation has not done. I mean, we have other states.
Right.
We have State Representative Richard Raymond and Tracy King and two other state representatives that are hard at work trying to get that. Hopefully next year we can get 50-50. But you have a lot of women advocates, especially there's women lawyers that don't want that. Right. But if you don't want that, I think that is one of the major issues. If sure, a broken marriage, one parent has custody, and the courts alienate the father, and then all of a sudden people say, "Oh, he's a deadbeat father." Well, the court's the one that's alienating him. There's no help over here. Sure, there's bad parents, there's bad moms and bad dads. Period. Across the board.
But it comes down to decisions.
Sure.
You know, how young are these couples entertaining, having children, and that sort of thing. So it's going to be a community
Sure.
Dialogue that hopefully will shed light on all of these things. So it's good decision making. Who is this a partner that you want to take
Sure,
on or
sure.
not?
No, you're absolutely correct. Now the decision has to be judicial as well as from all little branches of government, and it has to go forward. And
then
if
the
not,
parental side. I mean, there's layers.
Yeah.
The parents themselves. What values are we
implementing on the kids.
Yeah, and then the kids themselves. I mean,
Sure.
why
Sure.
these things occur, and of course it's.
There's-
We're not
there's-
perfect. We're
Exactly
subject to that, but the more education that we can bring up, I think it's helpful.
No, you're absolutely correct. And what else? Changing the subject a little bit on that. What else have you think has given a not bad image towards Laredo that we have to clear up?
Well, aside from the taint, call it, or the allegations that we've had in the past.
What happened about that? Has it gone forward? Has the FBI said anything, or it's just in limbo?
Well, it's just still in limbo. I have no idea what the FBI intends to do, but I would hope that whoever's on that list is cleared, and I'm hoping too that maybe the people that are on the list have made attempts to clear themselves as well, because
Sure.
I would think that's reasonable to expect.
Do we have other directors of the city that were on the list, or heads of departments?
I haven't seen that list, but some were mentioned. Yes, some were mentioned. I can't recall their names, and I don't want to go into the names.
Sure, sure.
But there's plenty there. Well, not plenty, but there's
Several.
Again, layers of staff and maybe former council people and current council people.
In building, how can I say, businesses here, like you have developers and so on and so forth. Is there any aid in helping them out or
Sure,
stuff like that?
and that's one thing too. I mean, when I first started, it was barely kind of getting started as far as incentives. Now we do have, but like anything else, I mean, they have to be properly applied and balanced, because ultimately it does impact the general fund. But we also need good paying jobs for to alleviate poverty. So it's got to be meaningful wages. So no, we do. I mean, we have an array of things now. I think now we're all well versed. I think council understands all these tools that we have, but they have to be applied accordingly to the need and what benefit the city is going to get as far as employment and job creation.
Sure. I know there was a bunch of development. They opened up a bunch of stuff. How come people were so not, I wouldn't say disappointed. How come people were so much against the Killam development and so on and so forth? What was going on with it? If you can explain it.
Yeah, for years and years, it went on and on. There were a prior attempt to get the Killam, the Coves, issue to develop. That failed. I personally felt really the first go around. I think we had more merit. What I was proposing and three other council people is that we would end up with the coves. Keep in mind let me back up a little bit. All risk is taken by the developer.
Sure.
In other words, and the developer has been very clear since way back then, and through the last attempt which passed the city. Now it's pending approval with the county and with the community college, Laredo College, but it's pending. But as far as the city, it went through. The developer has always been very consistent for years and years, and continues that no development would take place unless this TERS would come into be. So he takes all the risk. He puts all the the infusion of capital.
Sure.
Once there's improvements there, then that's when the tax revenue comes up. And of course, he was saying, give me 60 and city keep 40 of the improvement, of the difference there. So the city would take 40, but from the 60, and this is where I think there's been some miscommunication, the city was going to take from the top the police expense and the fire expense and any other expenses the city would provide to that development. So we would be cleared. In other words, we get all our money, and then the city, and I don't have the exact numbers, but
Sure.
our portion of that was going to be about 40 some million, this last go around. And based on the numbers, we get 40 plus another 40 plus maybe another 40. So the city comes out ahead. And they're saying, well, but it wasn't needed. It was going to be developed anyway. I don't think so, because the Killam family has been very consistent. It's not going to happen. And then once this last deal occurred, it kind of set the pattern for the rest of the right-of-way, which TxDOT is going to pick up. So it had to happen, and this last go-around, the numbers are there that the city truly benefits from it. In terms of, we recover what we expend, or what we surely, what they're using for investment, we'll get it back.
Sure.
Yeah, we're getting 10 million in right-of-way, a rec center that comes out of the
Sure.
revenues out of that code. So, and I mean, those are benefits. Plus, we recover whatever other monies would be taken. So I think it's a good deal. And I know it's been extremely controversial, and maybe at some point I can bring all the numbers and we can
Sure.
review those. But I don't feel bad about that. I think it had to happen, and because it was just stagnant for years, and something had to give.
And then, Laredo has to grow. And it's kind of been blocked by land on all three sides. So it has to grow.
No, it
So
has to-
somewhere or another, we have to say, you know what? You want to grow? This is the only way we're going.
Well, in that area, but maybe that happened, that's fine, and maybe,
Sure.
but it's still, kind of up in the air. It depends on, I think the college has approved it. I think it's just pending county approval.
Sure.
Yeah, and if the county says yes, it'll go. But each of those entities have to look at their investment
Sure.
and see if it's worthwhile for them. But for the city, we looked at it. We had experts as well, and they all said it was a good proposition for us. Keep in mind too that this landlocked situation is real, and it was real, and hopefully this will open it up. But we're also mindful that we have to open up more land, and you open more land through infrastructure, roads. So we're pushing very hard on the Ruthinger Road, which connects Mines Road to I-35. Vallecillo Road also is another road that the RMA is now pursuing with the city's help and TxDOT as well. And then we have the south and the east. We got to open that up. We need competition. Competition will lower land prices, and that's my goal. as a mayor as well, to open up as much land as possible within reason, within measure of our budget and whatever monies are available. So it's challenging and interesting, and I truly enjoy my job. Frankly, I've always loved the challenges, and this challenges me every single day. And again, I'm appreciative of what the voters have done, and hopefully they'll see me as their continue to be their leader as mayor.
Sure. And here's another question coming into that. How a lot of people I see right now are very disgruntled with the taxes. Explain that in your perspective of what's going on.
Well, as it is compared to other communities our size and similar, our tax rate is high, 63 point something cents per $100 valuation. Although we lowered it, it was just a little semblance of maybe what the trend should be for the coming years, and I encourage council to proceed along those lines of lowering the tax rate. But the obligations are so high now, Paul, that we can't. I mean, it's just so difficult. We can if council garners the will to start truly cutting. But of course, it may it's difficult because now we're getting to the point that it's jobs and programs and services and that sort of thing. And this leads me to this last contract that we did with the firemen. And again, we ultimate respect for the people on the line.
Sure.
But it's a question of money. How do we pay for this? And that obligation is a hefty one, especially the third and fourth year. It was a 4-year contract. The third and fourth years are the heavy years, which will be paying, or at least obligating the city for $5 million, and then I think the last year, the fourth year, is about $6 million. And then I foresee the police contract coming up around that time too, and they'll want basically the same arrangement, or who knows, maybe even better. And you can't really blame them because the firemen got it. But the question by then is going to be, will the bridge hold up? And really, the bridge is a golden goose. I mean, if it weren't for the bridge, we couldn't really afford all this other, extra things that we get.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. How is it with the bridge in the county? Is it do you think the
No, yeah, we work very well. Of course, we have a little differences,
Sure.
a little spats, but luckily Tano and Commissioner's Court are we work very well. At least I work with them very well, and I want to continue that relationship because we don't need to be spending money, taxpayer money, on lawsuits or things of that nature. Things can be worked out. We're years away from for that 4-5 bridge, but we got a plan now. We're also moving along the lines of expanding the World Trade Bridge. So both of those projects are essential. We need those. And as monies come, either way, we have private money on the 4-5, and once we develop that, by all means, but it's got to connect to the council did say that one condition would be that they would have to connect to the outer loop. And the outer loop, currently, they're now defining whether in fact it's a proper alignment. Should we keep the same alignment? I think it will. So it's moving. It's going to take some time, some years, but we're focused, and we determine the need. The need is obvious. Obviously, we have so much traffic, commerce, in international trade. So, things are. We have a great future. Frankly, it's a matter of just being careful with our finances, and that brings me to the next topic too. The city owes about $1 billion, $700 million in principal, and about $300 million in interest. So we got to be mindful of that too. That's been our modus operandi. That's the way cities usually operate. Sure. You have capacity to borrow money, and you borrow for capital improvements, for major projects, equipment, and we have so many other enterprises. But again, mindful, and hopefully we can. This is where city management comes in, and ultimately council as well. So personally, I think we need to take a more conservative approach, build the tax base, get revenues in, and then use those revenues to afford what the needs are.
What major changes do you foresee that might trouble you and if on your next 4 years? That you might say, you know what, I wasn't kind of expecting this to come up here, so we have to start tackling it now.
Well, not that I see any major surprises, because I think we know what worries me somewhat is obviously our finances, our financial condition. But the question was asked to the city manager, will Laredo go bankrupt because of this fireman's contract? And he said no, and he's right. We won't go bankrupt because we'll not allow it. But by not allowing means also that we have to take make serious adjustments, and that's coming. I basically told people that maybe it's a godsend too. Maybe once we're hit with that reality that something's got to give because the bridge revenue is not enough, then at that point, then major cuts or whatever will occur.
Sure.
But we're still about a year or two away from that scenario. Some other people think we're even closer. But the key, and I think council is now, based on what I saw last night too, I think they're truly wanting now to make do with what we have and not incur more expenses, although there's still room for improvement there. But I think it's resonating, and hopefully by next budget we'll know that we truly had to make some serious cuts.
Sure. And I see a lot of I hear a lot of talk about a new convention center, or and I say, well, we need it. We need it, but I think we can use something that we already have, or maybe not downtown, maybe somewhere else where it's a lot feasible to the airport, not a lot feasible to a lot. How can I put it, to IH-35 and so on and so forth. How do you see that?
Well, we've heard convention center, people think these humongous structures. We can't compete with the big cities, and I want to make that known, to the public. We don't want to compete. We want to compete maybe with a mid-size or cities of our size, but primarily we need a venue for our own people. The Civic Center is gone now. LIST has it. Can we lease it? Yes, possibly, maybe not. So we need certainty.
Sure.
So at the very minimum, our people here in Laredo need a place to do their Pocahontas, Washington, all the festivities, whatever local events that we have, because now the Civic Center is gone. Now the question is, why there at La Posada? Keep in mind too, maybe we should have been more open, but I, as a mayor, took it to all the various groups, and where I spoke about 2 years ago, 2-3 years ago, I told the community, especially the business community, look, we're seriously moving toward doing a convention center or a conference center of some sort. But we're looking for a partner, because we've learned that we don't need any more white elephants.
Sure.
So we need a partner that is willing to take the risk with us. No one stepped up, and it continued on for months, and it's spreading the word. Hey, this is the time, guys. I foresee something, and then the Palafox folks, La Posada people, stepped up and said, what, we have an idea. We're willing to invest some money to at least develop this concept, and we're willing to participate, city. And of course, council quickly adopted it, and we moved it. Maybe we should have allowed a little more time for the public, but it was
Public
council's
opinion or something, yeah?
Yeah, but council directed it toward the downtown, which needs a lot of attention, as you know, Paul. So it stands there, but ultimately the people will decide. This coming November, there's going to be a
Referendum?
referendum yeah, type, where if you vote for an increase in the car rental and the motel hotel tax, I think it's 2%, and something a little more maybe for the car rental. Those monies, along with $4 million that we just placed in the budget, plus the $12 million from the proceeds of the sale of the old Civic Center, could be used for that. But if the public doesn't want it, say no. Y se acaba.
Yeah.
That's it. No more. Maybe we can regroup down the road, and it could be
Sure.
someone else. But giving credit to Palafox, I mean, they've invested a lot of money as
Sure,
well
sure,
to
sure,
develop their plans. But ultimately, the people will decide on that.
So, this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, a lot of, you said straightforward, we told the people, we told the public it's going on, and people do not voice their opinion until it's too late. Oh, no, we didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
And so
it
I
wasn't-
think there's a lack of communication. Somewhere along the line, it's not getting, and I don't think it's not coming from you. I think somewhere along the line, it's not being
No,
voiced
and I
out.
guess maybe we could have done, but keep in mind, council, we at least personally, me, was spreading
Sure.
the word to hotel, motel people, if La Posada came up, I mean, they could have also said, okay, we're ready, Mayor, and we're ready to partner up to the
Sure.
extent of this much, but nothing serious, occurred until La Posada stepped up and said, yes, and we're willing to put this much for some initial study and so forth. But again, council, once they heard the Posada, they said, okay, that's all we need. Let's move toward La Posada, and that's council's wishes. And now we're there, but it may occur, may not occur. It remains to be seen.
That's good. Well, thank you for expressing that. Anything else you'd like to tell them?
No,
The
I think
public?
we're at the last leg, so to speak, of the program.
sure? Yeah.
Okay. No.
So-
Yeah. Thank you, Paul, and of course your staff here. You have an excellent program. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
allowing this platform to take forth. And this is what we need. We need people hearing the candidates now because it's a campaign season. But I know you've had other people talk about current issues here in our city.
Sure. And I think it's good for everybody to understand what's going on. That communication that before we didn't have,
Right.
And I think now everybody's changing a little bit. We talked about the culture that needs to change, and you elaborated that.
And I
greatly.
think we're moving toward that, and I think people, I would think, will see that there's something different. Maybe not to the degree that we all would want, but then again, maybe like I've told people too, who are we as a community? What do you want? Maybe what you see in council is what the community wants. I would hope not. I think there's room for improvement. And that's the improvement that I would want to see in my next 4 years.
No, you're absolutely correct. And I think the improvement is that people do not vote, go out there and vote. We have a very low voter turnout. And the first thing that they do is somebody gets voted in. Well, I didn't vote for him. I'm against him. And now they start voicing. But number one, it's your fault because you didn't stand up and go out there and vote. You didn't exercise your right.
Right.
So I think, number one, we have to change the perspective of the voter to literally, number one, let's get off your seat and go out there and vote. Plain and simple, make time to go vote. And I don't know how both the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are going to get people to do that because they're both failing on both sides.
Right.
And especially here in Laredo, we had 21% the last time. That's nothing. People are not voting. So we had more vote, and there was that silent vote that voted against jail than who voted for the candidates in March. So there's something there that I guess the whole community needs to do, get more involved in.
And I encourage the community, obviously, to get engaged. I realize politics is a messy business, risky business too, because some people may perceive retaliation or this or that. Oh, I saw you with so and so, and so your actions should be at the ballot box.
Sure, that's it.
And that's all we need. You don't have to be seen with me or others or whatever. Just do your duty, and hopefully, your conscience is satisfied, and hopefully the man that you want or girl or woman will come out. So anyway, there's Laredo's moving forward, and again I asked, stand strong with us. Change is upon us. Has been upon us for the last 4 years. We're pushing. And if you like what you've seen, me and others that are in council, please vote. and confirm that promise of change that will become a reality at some point, either with me pushing and then maybe someone else pushing a little harder, and hopefully we'll get to that goal line.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And I want to thank you for standing up
Yes,
and,
sir.
and
Thank
leading
you.
us forward.
Appreciate it,
And
Paul.
little by little, sometimes we're the ones that plow through, and it's the other ones that have to continue the
No,
charge.
and that's-
And that's just the way it is.
And that's the mission. I mean,
Sure.
that's really the mission. It's not about me or anyone else. It's about our city and how it's perceived and the future that it has and the potential. We have enormous potential, and I truly feel that, and I can get us to that potential, but I need your help. I need your vote, and I need like-minded people to help us, get to that level.
Sure. Well, Mayor, thank
Yes,
you
sir.
again
Thank you
for
again,
coming
Paul. Appreciate it.
here. And guys out there, be safe. We have a bunch of little guys in the morning and the afternoon. School's out, and let's stop texting and driving, because that's the one thing we all have to stop doing. Again, until next time, peace.
Take care. God bless.